So where are you guys at now? I mean, according to the Twitter, you guys are working on a record.
Um, I've been in the studio. I never really stopped writing songs after the first record was released, and so I'm constantly, trying to put songs together to and sort of figure out the direction of this record, this sophomore record. And just writing the best songs I could possibly write and pushing myself. So that's always been going on, but we're not specifically in the studio right this minute for the new record. In fact, I was in there for about 10 days, and then because we had about a 2-week break tours, so tomorrow I leave again for 6 weeks on a U.S. run. So, most of the time we're on tour, but any chance I get to be at home, I try to get in the studio and progress the next records. State.
Well, given that you've been touring so much the past few years, are you guys rehearsing this week? Do you need to rehearse, or are you at a point where you just now we'll be fine when we get out there?
We did do a little bit of rehearsing, and we did have a show on Saturday at a college in California here. So, I feel pretty confident with where we're at now. And as long as you know the songs and know what we're trying to do, I think the best place to get better at playing shows is during playing a show. That's always been.
Yeah, absolutely.
And some of us have been playing together since we were literally 15 years old. So it's sort of like, it's actually the easiest part about everything is playing. The hardest stuff is traveling or being nervous to play a television thing. Those aren't the easiest, the late night shows and whatnot. Or anything that's going to be under a microscope, be it television or, like a live stream at Coachella when we played was kind of a little bit stressful, but, you do your best and hope. I always hope that my very worst isn't that bad. You know what I mean?
Yeah, well, I'm just thinking of Coachella. I was just picturing the surfboard thing again. And
yeah, that was a great time.
Has that come out again, or was that a one-time thing? Because that was, not many people have done that over the course of rock history.
It was pretty. It happened, and that was kind of it to me. But I did bring it out in, a couple other special occasions. It's always nice to bust it out at a big festival when there's just a sea of people. And there have been a couple shows where, it seemed appropriate as well. But for the most part, it's got to be like the right kind of festival atmosphere, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. So is this the last run for this record? I mean, the longer Sail keeps taking off, the longer you guys can just keep touring this record. It's crazy how long the life of the song is.
I never want to get in the way of the progression of the album, so I do my best to sort of, kind of go with the flow. But it also gives me a lot of opportunity to be creating the second album, which I've been doing ever since, the first record was completed. Having said that, it's not, I don't have, it's different than being home and actually being in the studio working on the album, but I do some of my best writing on the road in the back of that bus and being in the middle of all of it, So then when I get home, I do my surfing, which is my main passion besides music, and it fuels the fire a little bit for songwriting and just really everything in my life, honestly. So I've been able to surf enough in between tours that it kind of gets me in this good place for writing, because I never sit down to really write a song. These ideas come to me, and I do my best to turn them into a reality,
Do they come to you on the board? I've talked to a couple of songwriters lately that have been talking about either going for a jog or going for a swim, and that's when their ideas, because it's kind of like it's not a mindless activity, but it allows your brain to go to different places. So does that happen to you on the ocean?
Yes.
Okay.
You could have some stuff on your mind. You may be dealing with something that's sort of stressful or possibly negative, and the second you're in the right situation, the ocean is obviously a beautiful place. And dealing with the elements of nature and different winds and tides, it's just the whole thing that goes into it. I mean, studying the forecasts, driving around to find the best spot with the least amount of people. You know, you become very dedicated to that. So it takes your mind off of I don't know, really all things in life. Especially for me, it's nice to kind of like cleanse my brain from not thinking too much about the next part of the next song I'm writing, or especially when I'm home and I'm in the studio. You know, my mind is like on constant replay of certain parts over and over and over again, and I lose my mind. So it's good to like sort of erase it and then start over and get a break from listening to the music that you're working on, because you know some people really can't get enough of themselves in the studio. You'd be surprised how many times certain people listen to their songs over and over again, and I probably used to be like that too. But now I like to take a break and listen to it as fresh as possible, because you always want to be able to listen to your songs with a fresh as if it's not your song, and that's almost impossible to do. But once in a while, you get lucky enough to surprise yourself and hear it in a new light, so to speak. And that's what my goal is usually when I'm in the studio working on a new song, is trying not to listen to it as much as possible.
That's interesting. I'm just trying to think of how to segue that into the band. Are there songs that you guys have been working on for this record where it's more of the other guys coming to you, or is it still very much your project?
It's still very much my project, but I couldn't. That's not to say that if there's an idea that seemed very, very great and appropriate for the next record, that I wouldn't be into doing that. You know, it's possible. You know, I like to think of myself, I guess the best way to put it is I suppose that I'm the architect of this project. You know, but it doesn't take away from how great these other guys are. You know,
well, absolutely.
It's not a comfortable thing to talk about. You know, but I'm not extremely interested in writing with anyone else, to answer your question, and that goes for, you know, a lot of other songwriters and producers that are out there that are great, really talented, but I just really, the last record I would say 75% was done all on my own, and I would like this one to be 100%, you know.
Well, if that's when you feel like you're in the zone, why not, right?
Yeah. I mean, I would like to see if that works going all the way that way. You know, I mean, I really enjoy the new songs so far, and I don't know, it's just at this place. I've been around a lot of people for the last 2.5 years on tour. You know, there's always people in my face. It's really nice to get away from that cluster, you know, and get some space, which I have when I work on my own, and when I work with, you know, with certain engineers. It's me, and you know, I'm in a good position to have a good engineer and be able to, you know, come up with ideas that we could actually facilitate. You know, and say, well, we could do this idea later when we're in the right studio, in the right situation, you know. But my whole setup is I'm in a good place right now.
And where will ideas typically start? Will they start with a synth for you? Will they start with a guitar? Like, how do you, I guess if you're on the back of the bus, it'd probably be a guitar, I would think.
It could be anything, really. I mean, I bring a whole recording situation on the road with me. So, you know, I work off my laptop and I work with different programs to record stuff. But, you know, I got a guitar out there, obviously, and different synths. And the idea kind of starts in my head, and then I decide which instrument seems most appropriate to start the song off, you know. But if I have like just a simple melody in my head, I usually grab a guitar and figure out what I feel the best chord progression would be. Because there's always a couple different options for chord progressions to accompany a melody that you have. You know, that you could go different ways with it if it's the melody you have. Usually you have, or at least I have an idea of what it's going to sound like. But you always want to explore all the other options just in case there's a better possibility, you know, in the initial writing of it. And if I'm lucky enough, the lyrics come at the same time, and then I really feel psyched about something that I have going. You know, it's hard when you have a melody and maybe some throwaway lyrics because you know, this, for whatever reason, this little riddle is coming out. It doesn't make any sense, but you love singing it. It just feels good. Certain words feel better to sing certain melodies than others. You know what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes you just feel like there's a word that you just have to get in there somehow, but it makes no sense to you. You know what I mean? So it's a little puzzle, really. But mostly I feel very satisfied when it all just flows through me, and it's almost like the least amount of work when it just kind of comes out of you. And that's how some of my more I don't know, some of the better songs I've written, I think, have come out that way.
Well, even from what I've heard from you saying, even the successful ones the same way too, which I find interesting that it's and I find that talking to a lot of songwriters over a year, that seems to be the case. It's always the ones that just come from nowhere that end up being everyone's favorites for some reason. And I
yeah, that's what it seems like. It seems like that, and I always wanted that to happen to me, but they never would before. It was always like the cool behind the music story that I would read about or see on TV, or where the artist says, "Oh, we never thought this would be the single," and it ended up being the biggest song on the record, and we almost didn't put it on the record. I'm like, wow, that's so cool. I wish that would happen to me. And then it finally kind of did. I mean, not that Sail was ever going to not be on the record, but certainly wasn't a leading contender as a single when I wrote it. I mean, I didn't even know what a single was anymore. You know what I mean? I was just trying to put something out there that I really love, that I would love if I heard, and I'd want to be a part of if I heard. You know.
Does, given the success of writing something so spontaneously, like boost your confidence as a songwriter, knowing that I can do this, and people and a lot of people dig it now? Like, how has that changed your songwriting? Has it?
I mean, I've always been really confident with my songwriting, maybe even more so before the success. I just didn't have faith in, I guess, that didn't really have a lot of confidence that everything would just line up the right way it's supposed to line up for things to happen, because there's been plenty of instances where many really great artists, and not to say that I'm great, but me included, had songs that sounded fairly catchy, or a lot of people had a lot of faith would do well, and they just don't for whatever reason, and that could be a business thing, that could be just the stars align, it could be the pop culture, it could be a lot of different variables. It's not as easy as just having what everybody in the studio and all your friends and label and business affiliates think is an obvious single, and then having a label behind it. And that whole formula, it's not that automatic. You know what I mean? In fact, it's extremely random. At times, I think. And so, what I'm trying to say is, I feel more than anything that I got extremely lucky. With the timing and everything.
Yeah,
there's plenty of songs that haven't had success.
Well, there's something about it, because it just keeps going, and it blows me. Like, I did a thing with some people for Vikings, an interview with some of the cast members the other week, and it was in the promo, and I was like, this song has a life like I haven't seen it in so long. It's great. But
we're the underground Adele.
Yeah, there you go. I like that. That's good. What kind of mainstream now? I mean, the tours keep going. So
I guess, I guess we're the I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what we are.
I like it. I'll print the Adele thing. I like that though.
When this record first came out and we started to have some commercial success, I would get asked almost on a daily basis what genre it was by press, and I never knew the answer to that. And I would find it to be annoying when they would push me on it a little bit, and I guess that's the point, right?
Well, I think it's mainly, now that I've been doing this print thing for a few years, I think it's mainly for that paragraph to explain it to people in the opening line who haven't heard it yet. Because
absolutely. I understand the need to explain it, but I don't necessarily think that that's my job. I guess because I don't even know. There's certain genres of music that, of course, you got your metal, you got your hip hop, but there's alternative music is sort of a hard thing to categorize, because alternative music is so open. It's almost like saying pop music, country, either. Especially now, you got the folk alternative scene. I don't even know when people say, "Oh, they sound indie." I don't know what that means. That's hilarious. There's indie bands that sound very poppy. You know what I mean? They sound like, no different to me than a major label band. So it's hard to really say what anything is.
That's interesting. Well, I'm going to segue that horribly into poppy indie bands like Mother Mother and Imagine Dragons, because you guys have picked. I don't know if you picking or your booking agency or how that works, but
it works both ways. So depending on what's going on.
Well, talk about Mother Mother, because I mean this is for Canada, and they're a Canadian band, and we love them up here. So how did you get acquainted with their music, and how come they're on the road with you?
Honestly, my manager and friend sent me what he believed to be the best options, because I didn't have anything on that made sense for us to take out off the top of my head, anyways, for this tour. And they were in a list of bands, and I thought they were both the most interesting to me, and I liked the songs that I heard, and I liked a few parts a lot, and it seemed interesting to me. And, you know, when you pick bands for a tour, you have to live with these people, and they just seem like they just seem really cool and quirky and interesting to me. So I thought it would be a nice thing to change it up and hear that music every day for 6 weeks. And so another thing I like to do is I kind of like quickly check it out the best I can without fully engaging myself, because I know I'm gonna get to learn most of their songs for the next 6 weeks. So it's almost like you watch the trailer to the movie and then the tour is the movie. You know what I mean? So I'm looking forward to seeing this film. You know.
That's great. I like that. One thing I forgot to ask you before when we were talking about the live show is why don't you play anything? I mean, you play everything on the record essentially. So how come you want to just be, or how come you wanted to just be a frontman?
I play a little bit of guitar here and there, and I used to get behind the drum kit on a certain part of a song every once in a while and switch it up a little bit. But I guess I just always felt that these songs would be best conveyed to an audience with me just worrying about presenting these songs with a mic, I guess, because the lyrics are such a heavy part of it. And honestly, I'm not the best musician, so it's not easy for me to play guitar and sing at the same time. There's certain songs I could just never do, you know. So my skill set is in songwriting and I guess playing shows, you know, with songs that I've written. So I need the help of other people. That's the true answer.
That's a good answer. Before I let you go here, because I'm taking up a lot of your time, 5 quick questions,
Sure.
1-word answers.
Sure.
Road or studio?
Both.
Lennon or McCartney?
Well, that's like saying, you know, who do you like more, your mom or your dad? So
You consider the Beatles your parents? That's good. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, you know, I, as a person, Lennon, I maybe would have to go with Paul on just because there's just more good songs, I think.
Cool. When you hear a song, what usually hits you first?
But I feel like shit with that answer, by the way. Just I feel horrible having to answer it all. You know?
I've asked these 5 questions to every band I've ever interviewed, so
okay.
So don't worry. It's there's a mishmash of answers over the years.
Great.
When you hear a song, what usually hits you first? Lyrics, melody, or rhythm?
Well, it really depends on the song. So much. If it's a melodic song, I mean, if it's definitely not the lyrics. So it's the melody before the lyrics. And you know, sometimes you'll hear a hip hop song, and normally for me, it's the beat. You know, it's the groove before I even care to hear what the lyrics are. You know, when it comes to that style of music, of course. So, I mean, I would say if I had to pick one thing, it's probably melody first. But melody with a weak groove is a disaster to me. So, I mean. These are tough questions, by the way, and I'm basically like cheating with these answers, but I'm just doing my best.
I like them, man. It's all good. I just love asking them because it's always interesting to see where people take them, and I think it's cool.
Yeah, because they're like, oh my gosh, I have no idea what to say.
Well, this one will be interesting. Song you've written you're most proud of?
I guess I would say Nights of Shame. It's 12 minutes.
Yes, it is, and it's epic.
I did that. You know what I mean? So.
Well, it's more than 12 minutes if you count that little bonus thing at the end.
And it has a bonus thing, but that's not even what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I know.
But yeah, got that little, you know, the secret ending.
Yeah, you got to have one of those.
Yeah.
In one word, Awolnation.
Awolnation.
I like it.
Sorry, it was sort of a cocky answer, but I didn't know what else to say. Yeah.
What Awolnation? I like it.
Yeah.
Just a repeat of the band name. That's good.
I was just lucky that I turned that into one word and I made it my own word. So I guess I was utilizing that benefit right there for the first time.
That's true. You did create a word.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
I should look into what it means to actually officially have created a word. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you should talk to some dictionary people about that. That's a sense of pride, I think. Absolutely.
And that's how you know you really made it when you have a word in the dictionary.
In the lexicon, yeah. Amazing.
So we'll see if that can ever happen.